It's the 10th of September and I'm Tom Glass and welcome to The Roast. Now with Apple's announcement of the new iPhone 6, it is time for me to lay to rest my piece of shit phone, the iPhone 5S. What was yesterday the forefront of telecommunications technology is today a rectangular box of unrecyclable plastic and glass. You offend me with your very existence. It's okay, I asked Siri, she said she wanted to be cremated. Die! Yeah, burn, you obsolete piece of shit.
The new iPhone doesn't come out till the 19th.
The 19th? Oh,
Help
God.
Me. Say Tom.
Siri, undo, refresh, wake up. Oh, God, what have I done? Is there a genius in the house? Here is Mark Humphries with the headlines. Oh, God, my girlfriend is dying. Recovery position.
Bill Shorten, the federal opposition leader, apparently, has urged the coalition to build Australia's next fleet of submarines in Australia instead of overseas. I don't know why Shorten's worried. Everyone knows Abbott hates boats from overseas. The federal government is yet to make their decision, but media reports suggest they're considering building the submarines in Japan, most likely because Japanese submarines are cheaper, more effective, and already know how to get to Sydney.
Jap submarines invade Sydney Harbour.
Abbott would, however, be breaking an election promise that 12 new submarines would be built in Adelaide, meaning it could be the most ill-advised move a Prime Minister has made about underwater matters since Harold Holt. Stay out of there, Harold! U2, the Irish band who after 30 years still haven't found what they're looking for, have released their new album for free on iTunes. Imagine that, iTunes, but the music's free. Oh yeah. The band made the announcement at the launch of the iPhone 6 alongside Apple CEO Tim Cook. Rock stars and the head of Apple together on the same stage must have been pretty cool.
4, 3, 2, 1.
E.T. Phone Lame. The album has been made available to iTunes' 500 million users and really is an amazing gesture by Bono and the gang.
We were paid. I don't believe in free music. Music is a sacrament.
I guess that's why his name is Bono, not Pro Bono. To the Basketball World Cup now, where the Australian team is being investigated over allegations of tanking, or as it's known to the Australian basketball team, trying our hardest. They're accused of deliberately losing their match against Angola in order to avoid facing the United States, but they ultimately found an even better way of avoiding them.
Australia knocked out a FIBA World Cup by Turkey.
In order to avoid punishment, Basketball Australia must now formally defend the performance against Angola. In other words, Basketball Australia needs to prove that the Australian basketball team is genuinely shit. Either that or they tell the judge they didn't want to piss off a country whose flag includes a machete. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Now, I've just been handed a note here from the ABC. It says, as the national broadcaster for the Basketball World Cup, we'd appreciate it if you could just be a little bit nicer about all of this. So, that'd be biased. Next up tonight, Apple, the company that surpasses the Empire for commitment to interstellar domination while maintaining the same colour scheme, has launched some new products. And that means it's time for a middle-aged man who dresses like your dad at the supermarket to start hyperbolizing.
Today, we are launching the biggest advancement in the history of iPhone.
In the history of the iPhone? Well, the elders oft spake of the original device in their ancient chronicles from yonder 2007. So the biggest advancement. God, what could that be? Will it project movies? Will it direct movies? Will it star in movies? It could psychoanalyze, cauterize, socialize and bake treats. It'll fight for civil rights while entertaining your kids, and it'll control your Nazgul. Patience, Terry! God! Fetch! Alright, now that I've set my expectations to appropriate for the single greatest development in the history of technology, what are the changes?
The screen is bigger.
So they've invented a Samsung phone with the Apple symbol on it. Wow, they really are geniuses.
Yet dramatically thinner.
My old phone is looking a little chubby. It's been crushing a lot of candy lately. So what can this mini iPad megaphone do that others can't?
It has a mobile wallet which will allow consumers to simply tap their phones to pay retailers.
So I am spending lots of money to buy a thing that will let me spend lots of money. The first thing I'm going to buy is a gift card. Just think of all the money I could buy with that. So, did anything else happen beyond the entire world changing forever? Yes, Apple has revolutionised watch technology with a watch that looks like a watch. And this just in, it's huge! So what should we expect from a watch that only the BFG could wear?
It is a health and fitness companion and displays messages, calls, mail, and timekeeping.
Timekeeping? From a watch? What a world! But you know what? We've all survived this long without a watch that reminds me I'm fat. I just can't wait to see how Apple tries to sell this to us. Take my money! Take it! We'll be right back.
While Tom cleans himself up, why don't you jump on Twitter and answer this question? Have you ever been attracted to a piece of technology that was hyped to you beyond all reasonable measure? Were you actually in love with the technology itself, or just the idea of technology? I'm not trying to stir any shit up between you two, but we'd love to hear about it. At the Roast TV or hashtag Roast TV.
So with each year's revelation of a bigger and better revelation, you have to ask, when will it end? Will we ever be satisfied with our level of technology? Well, Jazz Twemlow went on a journey to find out.
The Apple Watch has just been announced at another one of those launches where they tell you everything you've ever bought from them is now shit. Thanks to this new amazing thing, they'll say shit in 1 year's time. They've softened that blow with a video so erotic, I'm surprised they didn't just come out and say the Apple Watch has a groin. But since it'll be 2015 before we can actually buy this health-obsessed wrist, let's fast forward through the inevitable life cycle of the Apple Watch. First up,
enthusiasm.
Apple fanatics will rough it on the street for 2 weeks to buy a chunk of glass and plastic they'll accidentally drop in a toilet one day. But at least when they get their shiny new product, they'll smell weird. They'll camp out night after night in all manner of weather conditions, warmed only by an enormous glowing piece of fruit, imagining themselves as the stars of their very own Bear Grylls series, Man vs. Line. And this crazy anticipation will all be thanks to
blanket media coverage.
Which might seem bizarre. I mean, you wouldn't expect every newspaper to report on an inspirational new toaster that constantly reminds you your heart rate is at pudgy tit levels, go for a walk. But it's coverage that can only be earned by years and years of attention-grabbing product launches and absolute commitment to a single costume.
Backlash.
But naturally, there'll be a genuine backlash due to this futuristic dream device not quite living up to people's impossible expectations, just as it was with every previous product that then completely sold out, broke all sales records, and inspired critics to write think pieces about how life was simpler and better before all this newfangled technology, which they then published from their iPads onto the internet. But soon all your friends will have one, sharing their sleep graphs and tagging you in a photo of their heart rate, whatever that means, and you'll be the only person on the bus who doesn't have a watch that looks exactly like everyone else's. You fought the good fight, but now it's time.
Caving in.
You'll mortgage your kid and slap Apple directly on your arm, and you will love it for the rest of your year.
Upgrading.
Because Apple has released the Apple Watch 2, now with back-facing camera so you can take photographs of your wrist. And your old Apple Watch, a device which sat in pride of place on your arm for a whole year, spends the rest of its life on your mum's bedside table because she can't quite work out how it's better than the 50-year-old watch she already has. And of course, the Apple fanatics will be here to line up for yet another Apple upgrade, which launches in only 12 short months. In fact, since I'm here, actually, this patch of concrete does look comfier than the rest. For the roast, I'm first in line.
Thank you, Jazz. That was a very astute skewering of today's obsession with technology. Incidentally, can you pick me up a new phone while you're there? Because some idiot burnt mine to a crisp. And unfortunately, Siri, she never made it out. She was inbuilt. I'm really going to miss asking her questions and her not knowing the answer.
Did you ever know you were my hero? You were everything Apple told me a phone should be. Oh, yeah.
This is the most horrible way to die. You will burn for this, Tom Glasson.